Okay, I'd like to call the July meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. It's a little bit early because of the holiday. Paula, would you call the roll?
Alan Brown.
Present.
Neela Crank-Clements. Suzanne Broadbent. Present. Heather Clemmer.
Present. Greg
Eddington. George Massey.
Present.
Mary Jo Meacham.
Present.
Klaus Ryman Phillip.
Present.
Ann Zacharitz. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I would like to go over the procedures for the meeting, which are on the back of the cover page of your agenda. The chairman will announce each case and ask interested parties to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will discuss details of the case, calling on staff for details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or 4, deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. Contact HP staff for final design review inspection or to withdraw items that will not be completed. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the BOA. Okay. Also, if you would, silence your cell phones, and then we'll get started on item 2. Katie?
All I have is I wanted to introduce Cameron Conyers, who is in the second row here. He is an intern that has just started working specifically with the HP Commission staff in the planning department. He'll be with us through the summer and should be here with us through the next school year as well. So Cameron's a student at OU College of Architecture and Planning, getting his master's in urban and regional planning.
Great. Welcome. I understand you reviewed one of the cases. So.
Yes, he wrote one of our staff reports.
Yeah,
so you all can guess which staff report was.
You have to guess. Okay. 3, acceptance of minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any comments or a motion?
I'll move approval. I'll second.
So moved by Suzanne Broadbent and seconded by Klaus Ryman Phillip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are accepted. For the code enforcement report. Is anybody from the city here today? Okay.
If anyone has questions on a specific case, you can contact staff and we can find out more information. If you do see one that has a citation number listed, then you can also use that citation number to inquire with the Action Center or with code enforcement directly.
Okay, thank you. On to 5, continuance, announcements, and requests. None.
We have no new requests.
Okay. Public hearings. We have a National Register nomination.
NRHP 18-2 at 3101 Northeast 50th Street. SPUD 233, Ward 7, consideration and possible action on application of Marquette L. and Doris A. Youngblood by Linda Ozan of State Historic Preservation Office for certificate of appropriateness that's listed in there incorrectly, to consider a resolution regarding a proposed National Register nomination for the Dr. W.H. Slaughterhouse to the National Register of Historic Places.
Okay.
And Sarah Wernicke is with the State Historic Preservation Office, and I think is going to present the nomination for us.
Yes.
Okay, welcome. What's your name again?
I'm Sarah Warnicki. I'm the new
Okay.
National Register of
Great.
Historic Places Program Coordinator with the Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office.
Excellent.
I know it's long.
Good.
Okay, you have is the National Register nomination that was prepared for the Dr. W.H. Slaughterhouse here in Oklahoma City. It's being listed for its associations with him. He was one of the first African-American doctor in the city of Oklahoma City and was a prominent physician and businessman and public figure for the African-American community as a whole. So,
Okay.
if anybody has any questions about the nomination, I am open to try to answer those.
Well, it looks good. Any questions, anybody?
I'd make a motion to recommend the nomination of the Slaughterhouse to the mayor and city council, the Oklahoma Preservation Review Committee, and state historic officer.
Second.
And to adopt the resolution?
And to adopt the resolution.
Yeah, okay. Okay, it's moved by Joe Minch and second by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's recommended.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good job. All right, next, we've gone to C, consent docket, none.
So,
And, go ahead.
so under items for individual, cases for individual consideration, we, in anticipation of a pending quorum issue, staff would like the commission to move 2 items up to the top of the docket so we can get those addressed before we lose quorum. Because we have 2 cases on which various people have to recuse. So if the commission would be willing to move up D7 and D10 so that those can be heard first, out of order.
Yeah, I'll move to move item D7 and 10 to the front of the cases for individual consideration docket.
Second.
Moved by Suzanne Broadbent and second by George Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's approved, and let's go on to item 7 then.
HPCA 18-00080 at 507 Northwest 24th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Floyd Simon Paseo Holdings LLC by Catherine Montgomery of Preservation and Design Studio for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct your addition elective, 2, convert gable vents to windows elective, 3, replace metal windows elective, 4, replace porch ceiling elective, 5, construct wood fence elective, 6, construct sidewalks elective, 7, replace garage approach at alley elective, 8, remove metal security doors elective, 9, replace wood entry doors elective, 10, replace garage doors, 11, replace garage pedestrian doors, and 12, install new exterior lights elective.
Okay. Welcome back.
I wasn't expecting it moved up front.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Client's not here yet.
Well, it's either that or get continued again.
No, we're good. Ken Onchman, Preservation and Design Studio, 616 Northwest 21st Street.
Okay. Are there any comments, questions for?
Well, I just have an observation. I suspect you're doing the best you can with, it's going to be a really nice property, but changing the arch-shaped vents to the square, well, rectangular windows, that's architecturally significant. Did you look into keeping the
We're
arch-
not going to have clearance to get a fire escape window up there if we maintain a curved top. We're going to have to raise the floor of the attic space to begin with to get it structurally sound. A lot of these style buildings, the ceilings were built out of 2x4s, so not structurally sound to have a live load up there. So once you do that, you've got to get 3 feet above the floor, plus you have to maintain a 5.7 square foot opening, which normally means you're going to have over a 5-foot window.
Well, I assumed, I mean, I know you think of everything, but it really does change, to me, the look of those two gable ends.
Right.
And is structurally, I mean, architecturally significant. But
It is possible to use a skylight
It,
it'd be on the back face.
okay.
If there's a place for it on the back face.
Is that within the guidelines? We had another issue.
Skylight, that was
In Mestre
confirmed.
Park. In Mestre Park, we had a big issue about that at one time. On the back slope, it's okay?
Yep, a skylight can be approved on the rear slope of a
Yep.
roof,
This other night, it was.
not visible or minimally visible, I believe.
From the street, yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be a certain size, the 5.7, it has to be a certain height above the floor.
Correct.
It's a possibility. I don't know
did
if it worked.
you check into the possibility of a skylight? Is there any reason we can't?
Normally, a skylight, you're not going to be able to open up for ventilation or anything, and since this is going to be the only window in each of these units, we'd like to also have ventilation up there that's natural. Normally, a skylight's not going to have a screen, it's not going to have a storm window, it's going to be a pop hatch, and that's about it.
A lot of them, they do have roll-down screens
They
on
do?
some of them. You can do it, it's possible, but it's not like a window, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So, just a thought. I don't even know if it's possible on that back face or not with that gate, with that hip on the back. Might not be.
There's a little bit of space, but it would be tight. The other thing to take consideration, eventually the properties to either side are going to be developed, so a back-facing egress would be less accessible to firefighters or whoever needs to use it to get down off the roof.
Were there any other possibilities for the wood fence that was spoken of in the report?
We're not sure why the fence is causing a question. This is an interior lot, so even though it is pretty much viewed in the round currently, we expect that eventually that there will be development on both sides. So the portion of the fence that will be visible is maybe a 2-foot section from the front and the back once further development occurs. The fence that we're proposing starts at the back edge of the house and only goes to the front edge of the garage, so the south edge of the garage. So it's a minimal visibility once other development occurs.
Is there a particular reason it has to be horizontal wood?
That's what the client prefers.
Is what the client prefers?
Yes.
Katie, I'm not sure, in the guidelines, is there a guidance on horizontal versus vertical?
The guidelines talk about the tops of fences being horizontal or several other stepped or various other styles. They don't really mention the fencing itself being horizontal versus vertical. The horizontal fencing is a fairly recent trend that we're seeing a lot of, and I don't know that the guidelines really anticipated that or addressed that. In looking at historic photos of neighborhoods throughout Oklahoma City, most of the fencing we see, horizontal or vertical, looks nothing like any historic fencing that was ever there. People didn't have 6-foot and 8-foot
Wood,
cedar fences
solid.
with cap and trim 100 years ago.
And I know the guideline speaks to the temporality of garages. Fences are even more, they swap them out quicker. It's not uncommon if you get a bad windstorm that the fence gets swapped out every couple of years.
We have talked about with fences that have been proposed that have been more unusual designs, trying to ensure that the fence doesn't distract or detract from the prominence of the historic structure in the historic district. So that is one consideration. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, fences are on the more temporary end of the scale, for sure.
Also, I think the stairs are well thought out. We had a case last time with kind of open basement stairs, and you always have, I think, moisture issues. So it seems like you're enclosing the basement.
The stairs going down to the basement right now are treacherous at best. They go underneath the very derelict wood that you could try to call it steps, but I went down it once. I'm not going back down those again, and that's only 4 steps. Just to make it all inclusive, there is some thought to make some usable space downstairs, so it would be more efficient just to have it all as an enclosed staircase.
So I think that was a good consideration.
I don't know if it's a huge issue with anyone else, but the fence to me does look more like what staff said, more of a wall, and it looks more contemporary in design than anything that would be in historic, and I think the vertical is better in my opinion, but if there's no guideline to substantiate that, then I don't know. I mean,
The guidelines do allow for both fences and fence walls.
it doesn't mean that I have to like it.
No, this is true.
So, Mr. Massey, just like anything else that you review for approval or denial, fences are part of the components of this property. And so if you have something to indicate you believe that not to be appropriate to that body of structure, then you could voice that in your proposal. However, the guidelines themselves are very vague where fences are concerned, because we do consider them to be fairly temporary. Only when the houses are located on the corners in very obvious view do we bring fairly unusual fences to you, unless they're just really, really extravagant. It's because this fence is so highly visible at this time that it was brought to you.
It seems like there are kind of a couple items here that are kind of hang-ups. So the window and the gable, I think, not being arched, and the fence being horizontal. I don't know, Greg, do you think if they agreed to do vertical versus horizontal, do you think that would be acceptable, or?
What was that?
If the applicant agreed to do vertical fence panels versus horizontal, I'm really directing this question. To the applicant, do you think that'd be acceptable to you as maybe a compromise?
Well, I can use this, reverse the argument and say it's not going to be very visible, so yes, I believe we'd be okay with that. Oh, sorry.
Floyd Simon, I'm the owner, 900 Northwest 16th. The reason we did the horizontal fence is because we've already installed one at the corner of 529 Northwest 24th. So the goal with this, as well as other properties, to have the same fence along the whole the whole block, I guess. So that's why we went with the horizontal fence. We would prefer to keep that going rather than change it on this one and apply for a a horizontal on the next one, if that makes sense.
So you're saying in the same block, you've already
Yeah, so there's
put-
one at the corner, 529 Northwest 24th. It's a house that has a horizontal fence.
Yeah, well, okay, well, I assume you got a certificate of appropriateness for it,
I believe so.
okay?
That was.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yep, yes. It's a house, garage to the side street, and then there's a duplex, fourplex?
Yeah, the duplex,
Behind
2508 Dewey, just to the north of it.
Yep.
Staff approved?
I think that fence went to the commission.
Did it?
I think most of the work to that
Yeah,
property
that
went to the
was
commission.
2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
We have approved fences of this style in several
Yeah.
locations at this point.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not crazy about too, but,
It's not a big issue
Yeah.
for me. I would just think it looks more historic when they're vertical, is my opinion.
I have a comment about the window, just a thought. That side gable window shows a double-hung window, 2 feet by 4 feet.
You can go with a casement,
I was going to say, a casement window, you can go a little smaller.
because the
in
entire
width.
leaf opens.
Yeah, the whole thing opens, and actually would look more like the one on the front, which is, you can make it taller and thinner that way. Just a thought.
On the side.
Suzanne's comment was putting a large rectangular window in place of a vertical with a... If you could, it would allow you to make it narrower and taller so it'd look more vertical and less like a...
It still has to be, I want to say 24, but I want to say I'm misquoting. I know, no, it's 24 tall and 20 wide. So it would be at least 20-inch wide window, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it could be a little narrower maybe, but it wouldn't have the... I don't know, just trying to come up with something might... Is that better for you?
Well, I think it's more compatible with the structure and keeping the historic, element.
And
I've been dying to use this line. You all like to say I'm no lawyer, but, well, I'm no architect, but it does just strike me from a visual that,
I understand, and like I started with, it is an interior lot, so once stuff happens around it, it's going to be less visible, but right now it is viewed in the round, and we understand.
Floyd, as I remember, there was a few years ago, this was part of a much larger project of other homes or something. Is that right, or do I remember that right?
There was a larger project, but that's no longer happening.
Okay. And were they along here, where maybe things were thought to be built next door or along 24th?
I think the long-term plan is to have a structure of a similar height on both sides.
Uh-huh.
Or
Like
we're going to propose it, obviously. It'd have to go through HP, but
an apartment building type or condo or
potentially,
whatever?
yes. Yeah.
This will have no significance, but just to me and my family. My father-in-law lived in this building in the 1950s when he was going to law school at OCU.
Interesting.
I'll be happy to tell him this on the 4th of July.
Okay.
well, I have a question about the window again. I mean, are we getting an agreement to change the window at this point, or do we want to
So are you
continue it and let you
Are you
work
thinking
with
doing a
staff?
window of the similar size on the front, only be a casement? Is that kind of
No,
what you're...
I'm talking only the ones you've applied for today on the...
On the side.
On the side, gables.
But they're
yeah.
going to have to be a similar size as the ones on the front, correct? Is that...
They're going to have to be
But-
appropriate size to be an egress window, but we could make them similar to the ones in the front.
Well, yeah, and they could be a little narrower than the double hung, is my point.
Well, I certainly
You think that's unacceptable?
would appreciate that.
Would you do have an arch top?
I would prefer that. I mean, it's just an important architectural element to me. I mean, I may be
And
wrong.
when you go to a casement, the arch becomes a feasible.
Okay.
Are you willing to do that? Yes. Sure, okay.
I'm just not certain how much smaller they're going to be than the...
They're going to, I imagine they're going to be larger. I haven't been able to get up that height to measure those windows, but I feel that,
It's probably larger than the ones in the front.
yes,
But there'd
I'm
be-
looking at those right now, and I'm almost thinking those are maybe about 16 inches
Yeah.
wide.
Right.
And frankly, sometimes it's kind of tough with changing codes and things like that to
Yeah.
replicate exactly what was there. So in this case, it seems like, if they are a little bit wider, they still kind of maintain kind of architectural characteristics. So it kind of seems like it might be a good compromise.
The other thing on the side gable the roof pitch is different, and the front gables are more vertical, so I think it'd probably look okay, personally.
So Katie, would that be one that we would continue in order to get the measurements and sizing?
I think so, just because we don't know
It might be
right
a
now, we don't
long-
know the dimensions of anything that's up there, and I think that's something that the commission would want to see back and verify that you're getting what you think you're getting.
So continue item 2?
I think continue just that item 2, yeah.
It could be a while before I'm able to get up to that height.
Yeah.
Like I said, the rafters are 2x4s up there, and I can get up into the rafters, but I'm not going to crawl from where I can get to over to that point.
Get a
So you're
long
telling
ladder.
us you'd like the September meeting?
Probably.
Okay.
Would that be fine? Getting the rest of it?
Get a ladder.
If you can give me a bucket over there, I can go up.
So assuming the size is big, large enough to be an egress window and it's similar shape to the front windows, that is kind of what you guys are looking for, correct? So it seems to me that we could do, realistically, it's going to have to be a certain size. So if you're happy with it, you're going to be happy with it. If you're not, we're not going to be able to put living space. Does that make sense? So I don't want to proceed forward.
Well, the other...
I don't know if we can put those windows in.
The other possibility that was brought up was a skylight on the hip portion, not too far back from the front, so it's not visible. You can use a skylight as long as, 4 feet above the floor? Something like that, 42?
Behind where this fire.
Yeah. It's possible to put a skylight for egress also.
It just depends on where it hits the wall, because I don't know how far back
Yeah,
it goes on the interior of that, so.
yeah. But that's another option, or the...
That would be another now that I'm remembering some other parts of the code, we have to maintain a minimum 5-foot knee wall in that attic space. We can make the minimum height of the ceiling up there is going to be 7 feet, and we can have 50% of it be less than 7 feet, but we can't go any lower than 5 foot.
Right.
So that's going to bring it in closer away from the roof line.
You want to see measurements of the front windows and then put measurements in of the proposed window. Is that what you need?
You're talking about the side gable?
But you also
Yep.
want the measurement of the front windows, correct? To kind of compare the two, I guess?
Well-
I think as long as the commission has an accurate representation of what that side elevation is going to look like,
Yeah.
they'll be able to compare that to see if it's compatible with the historic window.
And we want
We
to
haven't.
see those as narrow as possible and still be egress, which I think is 24.
I think probably if you updated the elevations with a proposed window, everything to scale, I think that would probably be enough information, kind of gauge proportions.
So do we need to continue it, or can we leave that to staff within your administrative approval abilities?
Oh, do we trust this
You
thing?
could, well, yeah, you can either, I think staff understands what the goal is, and I suppose we could approve it with the condition that they submit that to staff with the understanding that if it's not close enough, we're going to bring it back to the commission anyway, if you all feel comfortable with that. Or we can,
I feel
continue.
comfortable with that.
Oh, I do too, just trying to
I think
figure
it's
out how
pretty
to...
clear.
And I think that would be our preferred path on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the rest of them? Anything else? Everything else look okay? Oh, yeah, if there's more comments. Saying, anybody else have comments or a motion?
All right. Well, I will move to approve HPCA 18-00080, item 4, with a specific finding that the staff, in the staff report, but I do think there might be a need to make the language in the specific finding consistent with the application. And I talked with Katie about this earlier. The application was to replace the porch ceiling, and then the language becomes deteriorated soffit. Maybe it doesn't matter a whole lot. What do you recommend, Katie?
I think that's an easy fix, that we can just change soffit to say porch ceiling, just so that it
Actually,
matches
it's
the item
both.
description.
It's both?
Both. You can see that
Okay.
the porch ceiling on the second floor is missing, and the soffits are a similar material, and there is much of that missing as well.
Okay, okay. Well, then replacement in kind of the deteriorated soffit and porch ceiling at the front is an appropriate treatment, blah, 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 specific finding. Is that adequate? That
I think
address
so.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. And approve item 3 with a specific finding in the staff report. Approve item 6 with a specific finding in the staff report. Approve item 7 with the specific findings in the staff report. Approve item 5 with the specific findings. Approve item 10 with specific finding. Approve item 12 with the specific finding. Approve item 1 with the specific findings. Approve item 9 with the specific finding. Okay, now here's the hard one. Approve item 2, converting the gable fence to windows, with the specific findings of item 1, of specific findings 1 and 3, but not 2.
Susan?
And with
I
the,
apologize, I hate to interrupt,
Yeah.
but 2 deals with replacing metal windows.
No, 2 is convert gable vents to windows.
yeah, that's the one where we want to talk about the arched one.
Oh, I apologize, I see number 2, item 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, the way they're numbered, but the item number is,
I
it's actually
apologize
number
for
9.
breaking your stride.
Okay, it's number 9 on page 23 of 24 was
Right,
item 2.
you are correct.
Okay, specific findings 1 and 3 still apply. And the unique circumstance in the staff report, with the condition that the applicant provide a detailed arched casement window. Am I getting everything I need to here? That satisfies egress requirements to staff before the CA is
Of minimum
Correct.
width.
of minimum
Width,
for egress.
right.
Very good.
Before the CA is granted. And then approve item 5, the fence. And I don't know that we need any specific findings there necessarily. No.
The staff report.
That take care of it, Katie? Okay.
I don't know, I wasn't checking them off as you went.
Well, I think I got all of them.
I think you
The
did.
staff recommendation was in a different order than,
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is confusing. I started going, what? She's kind of jumping around there. Okay.
On the, just one question, on the fence, were we okay with the horizontal panels, or was there?
That's what I understood.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
moved by Suzanne Broadbent and seconded by Klaus Ryman Philip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Been approved with a
Paula,
condition.
Just one second. Paula, did we miss any items? We were trying to,
Was 11 in there also?
I didn't check off.
Oh,
I didn't check 11 as we went.
we were just
I've
following
got-
along the recommendation.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, I think we're missing 8 and 11.
I think 8 was, I heard,
Oh, okay.
but not 11.
9 and 11 deal with the garage,
Well,
and under item 8.
the staff recommendation number 8 included 9 and 11.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
okay.
said that.
Okay.
I may not have said it. Okay, so do I need to, where are we?
Amend
What do
her
we need?
motion to include item 11? Yeah. Yeah.
Amend the motion to, I'll amend my motion to include item 11, the pedestrian doors at the garage.
Is there another one or just 11? Just 11.
That's all was missing
Okay.
for me.
All right. And Klaus?
I'll second.
Okay, it was moved by Suzanne Broadbent and seconded by Klaus Ryman Philip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is amended. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hope you have a good afternoon.
Chairman, I need to use myself from this next case.
Okay. Okay. And tell Joe to come back in,
Yeah.
so we have a quorum.
HPCA 18-97 at 825 Northwest 16th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Amy Alwater Diaz by Klaus Ryman Philip for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, 2, construct garage elective, 3, install gutters elective, 4, replace railings elective, 5, replace gate elective, and 6, replace steps elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Oh,
Present?
you are the applicant, that's right. I was expecting the owner. You look really familiar.
All right, my name is Klaus Ryman Philip, 301 North Harvey, and I'm representing Amy and Andrew Diaz on their application to demolish an existing garage and replace it with a new garage and do some exterior improvements, replace some railings on the front of their porch.
Okay. Need to come with some really tough questions.
Well, the only question I had on replacing the gate and replacing the steps, which I note is, I think, recommended for continuance by the staff, but in the staff report on page 12, under that item, there's some discussion of service and mechanical areas. Are the fence and the gate for purposes of screening the mechanical areas, is that part of your consideration here, and will it do it as the guidelines require?
It is partially, I think, the desire there. So that's kind of located in the back of the garage anyway. So it's a corner, a house on a corner there, Francis and 16th. And the garage is facing Francis, and then that's a good image there. You can kind of see the fence would be located on the back of basically that garage. So the existing garage, initially we wanted to try to rehab the garage, but we determined that was not possible based on the condition of the existing garage. So we are basically trying to replace it in kind. The footprint is very similar. We just want to make it more usable to the applicant. So really that configuration that you see in that image is pretty much the same as what the new one will be. So the fence would be kind of on the back alley side. So really would be kind of tucked around the back. Exactly. So basically that fence.
Are you in agreement with continuing it, the gate and the steps, for more documentation? what,
I think that'd be fine. Is that something you feel like could be administratively approved, or would you want more drawings and details on that?
No, staff should be able to administratively approve a fence in that location as long as it meets the height requirements and material requirements. I think we just didn't have anything showing the design of the fence.
Yeah, and I didn't detail that out very well. So I could provide that to staff, and if staff has any additional questions, we could have it at the next hearing, I suppose. If that is amenable to you.
So we could probably continue that just to the August 1st meeting, and we can get it administratively approved quickly in the meantime.
Are the steps part of that?
So the steps are a separate item, item 6, and I think that similarly didn't have a lot of detail, but potentially could be administratively approved as well, because it's just kind of a landscape feature.
And they would be a little more permanent. There's kind of a retaining wall on that alley side, maybe 12 or 18 inches or so tall. So they'd be set back from that a little bit, but I think there'd be maybe two steps that we would pour in place. I think that's the intention. But I can provide additional information on that as well.
Do we need a separate motion for the demolition of the garage?
Yes.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00097, item 1, with the specific findings noted by the staff in the staff report.
second?
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 1 is approved.
I would make a motion to approve items 2, 3, 4. I'm just go ahead and put that one in 1. HPCA 18-00097, with the specific findings and the conditions as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
Moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those items are approved.
I would like to make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00097, items 5 and 6, with the conditions that enough additional information be submitted to staff in regards to the design and placement of the gate and the design and placements of the steps to be submitted to staff in order for them to do an administrative approval.
Okay.
Second?
Moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 5 and 6 are approved with conditions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Did we do item 4?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I believe so.
Okay, back to the top of the, back to our regular programming.
D1.
HPCA 16-00169 at 3121 North Harvey Parkway, Edgemere Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Radha and Narayan by Ken Fitzsimmons for certificate of appropriateness to request a 1-year extension to HPCA 16-00169. And then item 19, amend item 5, replace 3 garage doors to widen garage door openings elective. And 20, amend item 6, replace exterior stair at garage to enlarge landing elective.
Wait 1 second for Klaus.
Okay.
Wherever he is.
And just to clarify on what this application is actually for, they're requesting an extension to the CA. There's been a 6-month extension granted by staff. When they request a second extension, that has to come to the commission, so that's why you're seeing this. And then in addition to the extension, they've got 2 amendments proposed to the landing at the garage stair and to the width of the garage door openings.
Klaus, we're on D1. Okay? Is the applicant present? Stepped out. I thought that was Ken. You need to come to the podium and say that again. Can we skip one?
Or we can, I mean,
Come back to it?
does anyone have questions, comments, concerns, or do we?
Not really, no? You do?
I did not.
I don't? So maybe it's just okay.
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve HPCA 1600169, items 1, 2, and 3, with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Okay. Is there a second?
Let me make sure we have
I'm confused.
our item numbers correct, because this one is numbered oddly. So you're approving the request for a one-year extension, the amendment to item 5, and the amendment to item 6.
That's a lot of numbers.
Is that correct?
Okay,
Approving
yes. Okay, it doesn't say that exactly on the,
Item
okay,
nine-
so
19.
to approve,
one-year extension.
okay, yeah, to approve the one-year extension, including the following items, 1 through 18, and to approve the amendment for item 5 and the amendment to item 6 with the additional, with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Which are items 19 and 20.
Oh. Okay.
We got it. It's okay.
I think we got it.
Okay.
I'm just reading the staff
I've
recommendation.
read both ways, so all numbers should be.
To approve all of it.
Yeah. All right.
Second.
Been moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's approved. Somebody tell Ken. All right. Next.
HPCA 17-00155 at 508 Northwest 15th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of J. Whipple by Roger White, Gumerson and Blake for certificate of appropriateness to amend item 7, install columns at patio to use substitute materials elective, and 9, amend item 3, construct your addition to use substitute siding material elective. So this is a previously approved addition and porch or patio where they have requested an amendment to use substitute materials for the siding and for the porch columns.
Must be the applicant.
Yeah, Roger White with Gumerson Blake.
Okay. All right. Is there any comments, questions on this one?
Roger, have you read the letter from the from Heritage Hills?
Yes, I did.
Oh, what are your thoughts on that?
A couple of pieces of input. I think really looking at the material, when you step back, our goal when we put this stuff up is to, obviously we want it to look historical as we do that, but also using modern technology products to be able to do it. I fully appreciate that there are limitations to what that is, but this product that's being passed around, it's very similar to a concrete type board that is typically approved for, or can be approved for siding. The product that we're looking at is it's a taper product, and this brand through Hardy Board, which is one we typically use, they do not make that taper siding, which matches what we're doing on the building. So we're trying to find a product that is has a good workability and good ability to it, but is a little more, holds up to weather and longevity than what wood would.
Well, we've looked at other products, I think mainly, and the product name's Smart Siding, I think is what we've looked at. And when we discussed that, and it was presented to us by an architectural firm concerning all of the details after we heard that information, I think we were in kind of semi-agreement for the time being. We would perhaps use that on accessory buildings. But and that's what we decided, I mean, at that point. And so we were, instead of on a main historic building. It seems like that's what we had discussed.
Since then, though, we talked about this a little bit before. We've approved it in other places?
We've approved SmartSide a couple of times. Now that you say that, I don't recall how many times we've seen it on well, we certainly haven't approved it on the historic structure itself. I feel like we may have approved it on an addition, in an addition as well as garages. The guidelines allow party plank on additions, so I was thinking we had felt that it was, some other products were, if it was comparable to hardy plank, then it would be okay anywhere hardy plank was allowed.
And a point of clarification, too, this is not on the original historical building.
Right,
This is only on the addition, correct?
Maybe I wasn't here, but
which is,
I thought that was what we had, the direction that we were going for a while, because this comes under the category of products not listed, because it's obviously impossible to list everything, and as technology changes, it's hard to include everything. So I don't know.
but this is on an addition.
Thoughts on it. I'm just commenting. That's what we've discussed in the past.
Right. It is on addition. It is set back from the main structure. So.
Yeah, it is not, unless you're trying to look at it from around the alleyway or somewhere that's just not, it's not readily visible from the street side.
Well, visually, it's going to appear to be similar to the existing, to the historic building. I'm just saying that it's not like you're taking an existing material and budding it. You've got,
It's supposed to be distinct. It's supposed to be
visual.
somewhat distinctive, too, in that we're not trying to find a material that looks exactly like the original material, so nobody can tell that it's not historic. The point of the guidelines is to have some distinction there so that it is clear that the addition is not part of the historic building. That is the guideline. I mean, whether we follow that exactly all the time or not, that is the guideline. We're not trying to confuse people that additions are historic.
But when the addition is kind of secondary to the main structure, and it is set back or separated, we use reveals and other things, and still use the same material. To me, if it was a larger addition, so.
The other comments, I think, then, going that direction, the other comments we've said in the past were, if material is available, similar to the original material, why would we not use that?
That's a good question.
In the sense of a garage, it seems like people have come to us, it's been due to the money, the difference in cost. Well, it costs so much more to actually go get, wood to put on a garage. Can we use products that are less expensive? So, just bringing up, I don't really have a decision right now. I'm just saying those are the things we've discussed.
Would you like to respond to those?
Well, I think as far as the material selection purposes, we've done many of these throughout the years, and you put wood up, and it has a tendency to move, it shrinks, expands, up and down based on temperature, moisture content, which opens it up over time to weather and wear and tear on the paint and the finish of the product. The product we're proposing is a much more stable product. So in the long run, I think we're better off as far as the overall appearance of the structure by using this alternate product. Comes with it's a 20-year warranty on it, and I guess, obviously all products have, let me back up. I guess you look at wood, you put up wood and there is none. I mean, they're standing behind this for 20 years as far as that goes, as long as it's finished. I think it's a superior product to going with wood.
So there's no cost consideration, it's just the function.
Cost is very much in line with each other. We could go wood or this for about the same cost.
Okay.
I mean, in regards to that, the comments from the neighborhood association were that a mere 20-year warranty next to a house that has wood on it for 85 years or however many years. So, I mean, that's their comment in regards to warranties.
Well, I guess, and not to split hairs to do that, I go, when you put up wood siding, there is no warranty. You have to just keep it maintained and caulk and paint. This actually gives you something to begin with, at least.
I actually have a question regarding the fiberglass columns and what prompted the change from, I guess, what was originally approved, because this is a change from the original application. So what prompted the change?
Brought on well by a couple things. One, again, looking at longevity. When this was submitted by architect originally, and we're the contractor, builder, construction manager on this. Looking at it of longevity of what we're putting up and trying to stand behind it. I love wood stuff as well. It's just a matter of maintenance and everything else on it. Also, when we do those columns, to be able to do wood columns, we have to get some that would be split so we can put structural members on that. With these, they carry enough load that we don't have to have that happen. I think the structure of them is a better fit for what we're doing.
So the original approved columns were wood?
They called out everything basically was identical to what was there,
okay.
And that's how it was put through.
So honestly, and maybe the pictures don't do justice, but it seems like they're in pretty kind of decent condition.
Okay, yeah. Let me clarify. I'm sorry. The picture you're seeing of those columns, we're not changing those columns. Those are the existing columns of the house. Those are points of reference of what we're trying to duplicate. And the look of the new ones are almost identical, and as far as what we can get as close in the detailing. Those are the original columns, and they're staying. The ones we're talking about are around on the back side by the back porch is what we're talking about.
Okay, that was going to be a concern of mine if they were in the front. And I tried to do some research on the product, and I didn't have a whole lot more information than what was submitted, but you know, are they hollow or how?
They have the wall on them. I don't know the exact dimension of it. There is a wall to them, and then the center portion is a hollow piece. But the outside thickness, again, I don't have the specifics in front of me. It's probably an inch to inch and a half.
You said those are structural?
Yeah, they are. They will carry. Again, I don't have that note in front of me. They're like 3,000 pounds or something per each one of them, which solves our issue with that porch structure.
So yeah, my concern with fiberglass is always, will it feel flimsy if you knock on it, and especially if they were located at the front of the house, I think that would be a real concern. But you know, if they are very solid physically,
yeah, and they are around back. So.
I don't know if anyone else has any comments.
Well, I have a question to make sure I understand. So these columns that the fiberglass columns they're not replacing existing wood columns?
No, they are not.
It's on this new...
They are, that is correct.
So all of the products that we're talking about are at the rear of the house?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, they're all on that addition piece that the original CA is set for.
And it also doesn't appear to be a corner lot, so those would be...
That is correct.
They would not be visible from the street.
Correct.
Well, I am somewhat swayed by the neighborhood's concerns. This is a really nice block, obviously, in Heritage Hills. And Heritage Hills is kind of the standard bearer for historic preservation, it seems to me. I do have a problem, particularly with the columns, using this kind of material on a house like this, even if it's an addition on this kind of property.
You know, frankly, I have the same concerns. I don't know if there's a way that you could bring a sample maybe of like a cross-section of a column. I don't know if that would help.
I can see what I can find on that.
Do these columns have a support inside of them?
No, they're just, they have the framework on it, they've just tested enough to know what the load capability.
The fiberglass itself will support?
Yeah, it's whatever, that wall thickness of that has the ability to support that.
Okay. Looking at your chart, and that's not something we're really reviewing, but does have a little table for columns to surround structural supports, but you don't have the structural supports. Okay. Is the profile exactly the same as the existing?
It's very similar. I mean, what's interesting is when you look at that area, when you start comparing on that's on the front porch.
Can you go back one?
That actually covers. Well, that's the screen porch.
Well, those are the same.
Right there. Okay, right there. Well, back one more. There. When you look at the bases and the capitals on that, when you zoom into those, there's variation between all three of those columns. They were done at different times.
Okay.
So it's in line with them. It's not a perfect match to any given one, I don't believe, but it's very similar.
So there's three columns different right now.
Yeah, you can look at where it hits the base. Those are all different flutes and different designs, and you go up top and they vary as well. One of them has a little wider banding piece below the actual top of the column.
And did I understand that the cost differential between the material wood that was approved originally and these new substitute materials is not?
So on the siding, they're equivalent. On the columns, wood is a more expensive option because we have to create them so that they are structurally sound, and we have to be able to split them and do that, which is a lot more cost to do by doing it that way.
But I'm assuming that the owner had that figured in when they asked for the first CA.
Well, when they did the first CA, we hadn't run all the final numbers on it, so that's these are cart before the horse sometimes, as you do.
I mean, I'm kind of in agreement on the comments in regards to the type of property, because it is unusual that the neighborhood, I mean, we have different things, or similar applications like this, and we haven't really had this type of review from the neighborhood come back. I feel like that it is associated with the quality and the type of property to some extent. And so we do say that we review each property individually, and I can see where that concern is valid.
What concern was that?
Using different materials.
Using alternate?
Alternate materials with this particular one.
And you're referencing both the siding and the columns?
The siding and the, right. I just think that when you're saying that, what you all feel, and then thinking that it's rare that the neighborhood has such an interest in the actual materials of a property is kind of unusual. So it's kind of the combination of all of the concerns.
I guess my question would be is, when they do the review on that, I'm not sure what would stick out for this property versus some other property around that area. It's a property sitting in the middle of the block. There's nothing unique about it versus the neighboring area. I don't know.
It's very original, this particular property, I think. No?
I'll just note on the siding that the guidelines are pretty clear that substitute siding products, which we specifically call out as cementitious siding, are allowed for additions and new construction. And we've routinely approved hardy plank at additions, including ones in Heritage Hills. So I think certainly is the Commission's, the Commission needs to assess this specific product because this one is not identified in the guidelines. But I think it's hard to, when we routinely allow that product, I think it's difficult to say, well, it has to be wood in this case. It does say may, and so the Commission could certainly say, you know what, there is something so distinctive about this wood siding that we don't think a substitute material is replicating that accurately.
I understand what you're saying, but what I see happening is that it is very difficult for us to evaluate on the commission the quality of the alternate products over and over again. We did have a very specific 15-minute presentation on smart siding, and that's why I don't think this has happened, but maybe it was. But at that point in time, the architect was trying to show that it should be used on the addition or something else, and it seems to me that our discussions led us to say, okay, well, for now, we're going to allow that to be on garages or accessory buildings. I don't remember it being on the addition. That's not how I remember it. I'm not saying I remember it correctly, but when we start saying yes to this and we don't have specific information in regards to this product, and then somebody else comes in with a product that is not as quality as the one that perhaps you all have selected, then where are we in the quality of the alternate materials that we're allowing to be put on properties? That's where I think we were going with the smart siding. That's why I felt like we tried to kind of limit it, because we did understand that one, okay, garages. But so then the next person that comes in and we don't have more information on the particular product, because there's a lot of new products. Some of them are very inexpensive. Some of them are not. They're very good products. So this one may be a very good product, but if somebody else comes in with something that looks similar, it could cost half as much and not be as quality. So how are we going to determine that? It seems like that the Hardy plank was something that not only us, but other commissions, other cities were using, and so we felt comfortable for a long time using that product because we felt like that it had a proven track record.
Do you know anything about the quality and other uses of this product in historic districts, or anything about its history or
I don't
usage?
believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that they really come out and I think they come out and market it as a general product, as it's a sustainable product. It's made with the 70% recycled material.
Do you know how long it's been used?
I do not have a timeline on it. Ideally, if we were going at this when we first did it, we were looking at stuff for Hardy Board and some of those other cementitious products. They just don't make the same profile, and this was as close as we could get to it to try and find something that gets it out of the wood, which is just, we found over the years, is a long-term issue.
Yeah, just trying to address her comments. To me, it looks like a good product. To me, the addition is using an alternate material and the columns kind of follows along with the idea we allow new windows. The addition is different from the main structure. So, to me,
Yeah, specific to the siding, I've kind of been in the same boat where I've been trying to find specifically Hardy, if we're talking about a specific product, and they don't make this kind of profile. And I have looked at alternate materials, which in my I researched the product a little bit before I came, and it does seem it approximate cementitious siding pretty closely, and it is a smooth product, so doesn't have that kind of artificial texture.
wood grain.
Yeah. And in this case, Mary Jo, you were talking about the kind of original quality of the structure. So the kind of unique circumstance in this, it seems like since the addition is set back, it does kind of set it apart from the main structure, but you still kind of, by your lengths to find a profile that matches the existing house, it kind of, I think, would kind of maintain the character of the house while still setting apart the addition. So, I feel like the product seems to me like a good alternative that kind of would meet the guidelines.
I just want to see if this is something that would settle your mind on this at all. We have reviewed polymer products in the past that we have denied outright. They were very shiny, they were very hard, they were textured, they very much looked like plastic. The profiles didn't match anything that we've seen on our historic houses. I was extraordinarily skeptical when I heard the words polymer regarding this particular proposal, but the product looks very, very similar to what we do have on the structure. It is an addition. It is set back on all sides, not as highly visible, and alternative materials are allowed on the back of the house. If we have the opportunity to review specifics on this particular product, whether or not you need to use screws, whether or not you need to use nails, whether or not the labor costs are similar, how it reacts to water, sitting ice and snow, are those the types of items that you would like us to know about in order to move forward with something like this on an addition?
Is this installed just like regular siding, so there's no difference? That's one, I figured that was the case because it's the same profile and everything.
And they even talk about the way this product, the construction of it, or the material that it's made with, that there's no need to, you don't have to prime the cuts, you don't have to do any of that stuff when you do that. It's actually secure enough or stable enough that none of that even has to happen. So,
Well, I just don't see the need for a substitute product. On the columns, cost is a problem, or a differential that might be worth considering. And I could feel a little better about the fiberglass columns, but I just don't really see much need here for a substitute material. Wood is available, and that's what was approved, and it's what's on the original house.
That would be just like saying there's no need to install double pane windows in addition. It's a better product. They say it'll last longer and it's more dimensionally stable. If they have a product they want to use, I don't know if it meets our criteria that we can tell them, no, you can't. You have to use wood. That's my feeling about it. It's an addition. They prefer to use this as long as it's acceptable.
Okay, so the difference that I think I'm hearing is if it was the original house we were talking about, we would really be a little more strict about staying with wood. But the addition use. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I understand the difference. Still not happy about it.
Well,
one other point.
I don't not like the material. That's not it. What I feel like is a year ago we said, hey, smart siding for the garage. Now we're, going this way. Then it just, to me, how do you say no to people on other products for additions?
If it's not acceptable, if it's like
I don't
said, that if it's shiny, if it's plastic, that those are things that are not acceptable. So, but
well, I'm in agreement there. I don't, as far as quality control, having somebody hand me a piece of something, I don't see how we're actually, how that is proving the quality of that particular product.
How long has this product been in use?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Whereas, like I said, at least on the smart siding, that firm came and gave us a complete rundown on, why they wanted to use that. And we still said no, except for on the garage. It's the future to me. It's not maybe this specific one. It's, what kind of products are we going to allow? We don't have a very long list, but when we allow this, then that gets added to our list. And then our list gets longer, and we still don't really have specific proof on individual products.
We barely have a quorum, so if we take a vote, I have a feeling that it won't pass. Would you like to continue this until we have more members?
You only need 3.
3?
to pass.
I thought
You don't need a unanimous.
I thought it was unanimous. Okay,
Nope.
sorry.
Nope.
Well, why don't we just, any more comments on this? Heather, you haven't said anything.
No, it's kind of like with Mary Jo. I feel like if we are going to see new materials coming in that are not specifically addressed in the guidelines, and it does say you can have alternative materials on additions in the guidelines, but it is kind of vague, then we at least need to do the due diligence of having the information about why we allow certain things on additions, but we're not going to allow other things on the additions. So I'm kind of with Mary Jo where there needs to be that additional information that allows us to add a unique circumstance that says this is why we're allowing this product, and it sounds like the neighborhood needs that as well. Or you are going to have people in the neighborhood thinking, well, if they can do this, then I can use that.
I do think my primary focus when looking at substitute materials is the visual compatibility. And if this is a product that fails in 3 years and they have to replace all the siding on their addition, that's not really the commission's problem. It would be different if it was the historic structure. I would not want the commission to be allowing the use of products on the historic structure itself that are going to deteriorate, are going to allow damage to the historic structure. But, and not that we want to be promoting and allowing junk, but, you know, based on the materials provided by the product manufacturer, it sounds comparable to wood. It sounds like it, you know, resists rot, can be installed and can be manipulated similarly to wood siding. Visually and physically, it seems pretty comparable to other products that we approve. So that was staff's kind of main basis for thinking that that product would be appropriate as a substitute material as opposed to some other things that we see that look less appropriate.
I guess Joe's point is that we required more information on the smart siding, but now we're not. I agree that I don't know what we would ask for.
Right.
Spec sheets.
Yeah, and I believe all of that was provided. All of the MSDS, all that stuff is there. Was part of the submittal package.
We've got some.
I understand that, and I'm, you know, and if staff perhaps feels that they've done enough research, I will say, just as a side note, I don't know if you've noticed driving through the neighborhood, we do allow wood siding, but people are putting up pine siding with knots in it everywhere in the neighborhood, and that's just kind of an indication of you give a little and people take advantage of the situation. They're out there putting really an incompatible product out because of the cost factor. So you say, hey, you can use this. So I think it's just it's a preventative thing in my mind. But I mean, I agree with Katie if she feels that way. I mean, I'm not necessarily. I don't think it'll be a bad product. It's just where are we in this?
Well, we evaluate every new product.
Right.
I think if it came up and it had knot holes and fake wood grain, we would not approve it. But we can't stop people from not, you know, following the.
Well, and Katie, we don't have the details. We have one kind of general drawing, but we don't have the details in this packet of what that back addition is going to look like. How much siding are we talking about?
Well, we've got the plan that pretty much shows the footprint.
That's what I'm saying. We've got the footprint, but we don't have. I mean,
You don't have elevations. Yeah. I
does it
apologize for
look
that.
like the side patio where it's mostly screen, or is this mostly siding?
The patio
Solid blank wall.
that you see is all open. So that's just the porch columns and then I think a concrete patio. And then the addition is all siding with windows and doors. I do have the case file that has the original CA in it. Hold on, just.
Pass it around.
Yeah, it's two-story structure with siding on windows normally.
So the siding on two sides will be covered. Will the patio be screened in like the side one is? It's open?
It's an open patio.
Okay.
Now, to me, this product seems very similar to a hardy board type siding, with the difference that it has a profile that can
That
be
was,
found by Hardy.
if we could have found Hardy, we would have used Hardy. That was our preference, but they just don't make the profile. We're hearing next year on, possibly on this tapered siding, but that's obviously hearsay at this point.
I like using this profile better than Hardy plank myself.
I mean, it's rigid, it's tooled, or, you know, worked the same as wood, installed the same as wood, and you have lower long-term maintenance, which would, in theory, keep the addition looking nicer, right? I still think, you know, with the setbacks and differentiating it, but still maintaining the same look for a superior product, arguably, than wood. It does have a 20-year warranty, which I think says a little bit about this manufacturer's trust in their product. So I think, in my opinion, I think it's a valid replacement. I do understand the concern about a slippery slope and where do you end and what do you approve and what do you not approve. And it's tough because we don't have very rigid, these 5 products we can approve and these 5 products we don't approve.
Well,
that is tough.
The reason why we don't is noted, and there's reasons for it. If it's acceptable in appearance and material, then we approve it. So it's not that slippery of a slope. If there's 10 materials that are as good as this, why not approve them if they're acceptable?
And we do have a sample, in hand that I think is acceptable as a product.
We're not opening the door. I mean, we're reviewing every substitute material, either staff or us. So,
Then do you think there needs to be a specific finding that communicates that if this is approved?
make it clear that, yeah, I would think so. That it approximates, profile and other, what did they say, what did staff say?
Well, Katie, in regards to the comments from the review committee, do you think then they lack understanding in the guidelines? Or, they disagree and they cite in the guidelines, why they disagree.
Let's see. Well, on the columns, the guideline that they cite is for replacement of historic porch columns. So that one, under new construction and additions, we don't have anything that talks specifically about porch columns. We talk about wall materials, roof materials, windows, doors, but we don't go into the level of detail of things like porch columns and railings. So on that, staff looked at the fact that we do make allowances for fiberglass columns when we're replacing a historic column on the front of a house. So it seems like that fact, combined with the fact that we allow substitute materials in various places on an addition, would support allowing a fiberglass column on a new addition. So on the columns, that's kind of where we fell. On the siding material, I think we completely agree with the neighborhood comments that we can't expect the guidelines to list every product. So on the one hand, you can't assume that if something's not mentioned, it's therefore allowed. We don't want to go down that path. But I also think when something's not explicitly prohibited, you can't infer that that means it's not allowed. And so I think that's where the commission has the professional expertise and the discretion to look at a product that's not addressed either way and determine in that case-by-case assessment, is this product acceptable for the use that's proposed? The neighborhood did reference one of the preservation briefs, and now I'm not seeing that.
For the column.
Brief 16.
Brief 16.
Which that one is specifically for historic materials, and there is a separate brief for historic additions that doesn't go into the level of detail about materials that our guidelines do. It just talks about them being compatible and approximating historic materials and that sort of thing. So I think certainly it's not inaccurate to talk about whether or not, how far down the road you want to go with a substitute material, but I think this commission has already quite clearly established that certain substitute materials are allowed at additions. So we just have to assess what materials and when are appropriate.
You're wanting to do this not because of cost, but because you think these are better materials.
On the siding material, yeah, we believe it's a better material.
And the column.
The columns, there is a cost factor to it,
Cheaper.
but it's one of those that in an ideal world, if I was putting them in, these are superior products.
So column's a little cheaper, but you think it's a better product?
No, the column, yes, the column is a little cheaper to go
A
fiberglass.
little cheaper, but it's a better product. The siding, you think, same cost, but it's a better product.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to establish the reasons why.
I would disagree on is the wood a lesser product when we have the wood on the house that's been there since 1904 or something. I don't think it's fair to the wood to say that it's not a superior when we have an untested product that has not even been on a house.
I was just pointing out that's the reason why they wanted to do it.
But I just want to state I disagree on, I think wood it's not fair to call wood not superior to the product.
I have no problem with wood. I think the issue, what I look at it, it's the maintenance of wood versus the maintenance of this over a long period of time. Wood requires, in my mind, a lot more maintenance than what this product would. And when you balance that in, is everybody down the road going to maintain it at a perfect level? I don't know. I think this product will last a lot longer given average maintenance. But
that's a different reason to me. If you say, hardy plank holds paint better and you don't have to paint it as long, then that's one thing. But to say that like I say, I'm just standing up for wood.
So this product is easier to maintain, doesn't require as much painting and maintenance. I think that's a major factor. I don't understand why it's not, but not to run down wood, but you do have to maintain it more regularly, paint it, and it rots. I assume this doesn't rot.
That is correct.
Yeah. So, anyhow. But we only need 3 votes. Does anyone want to say anything else or we've been talking about this quite a while. See if...
Well, do we keep the column and the siding together as one item?
You can do what you want. You can take them separately.
You can do all one motion if you wanted to. If you're making the same motion for both, you can do it all in one motion.
I'll make a motion to approve HPCA item 17-00155, items 8 and 9, with the unique circumstances listed in the staff report.
Can you also mention that something about the I don't know how to say it, the finding that we consider this materials to be acceptable substitute for an addition?
With a specific finding that, given that this is an addition, the material is an adequate substitute to wood.
Kind of address the fact that we're not just opening the door. Okay.
Could it be for this specific project? Because if we say...
Test project?
If we say if it's an acceptable product for additions, have we just said that it's in the future, this product is acceptable for additions if it matches the profile or is similar or whatever?
So I'll make a recommendation for approval, HPCA 17-00155, items 8 and 9, with a unique circumstance and specific finding, as listed in the staff report, and specific finding that for this particular project, the alternate materials are acceptable in profile and materiality with the existing structure.
For an addition.
For an addition.
Yeah. Make that clear. Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Klaus Ryman Phillips and seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. You have been passed. Yeah. After much discussion. It was a good discussion. Thank you.
HPCA 18-33 has been withdrawn. HPCA 18-44 at 115 Northwest 28th Street, Jefferson Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Justin Smith for certificate of appropriateness to 3, install porch stem wall in brick, elective. 4, replace front porch south and west steps with painted brick steps, elective. 5, replace steel front door with wood door, elective. 6, replace 2 front aluminum windows with 1/1 wood windows, elective. 7, replace front porch railing in kind, elective. And 8, replace deteriorated fixed wood windows, elective.
Okay.
The Commission heard this application once previously, and continue it.
Okay, is the applicant present? Is not present. Okay. No. Are you Justin? Okay. Okay. Staff is recommending approval. Assume that we received enough information.
Why was it continued? Lack of,
Yep, lack of documentation, so we've gotten some additional information from the applicant.
The only comment that I had looking through this was the porch railing.
Yeah.
So I looked on the street, and I didn't see, it looked like the common kind of porch railings were actually a brick wall. So there really wasn't any, kind of precedent-setting railing on that block that I could tell. So with lack of, historical documentation of what was there, I'm not sure I necessarily have an issue with the railing.
Yeah. Odd railing. Sure, it's not original, but
I would go ahead and make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00044 with the, let's see if you have any, with the specific findings, there are no conditions, with the specific findings as noted by staff in the staff report.
Second.
okay, moved by Joe Meacham and second by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one's been approved also. Next.
HPCA 18-59 at 431 Northwest 17th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Robert Abernathy by Sam Gresham Architect for certificate of appropriateness to 7, open portion of servants' quarters and convert to outdoor kitchen elective, and 11, amend item 3, rebuild west stucco wall to include retaining wall elective. Just to clarify on that second item, the Commission previously approved rebuilding the west stucco wall, but we had not clearly indicated to the Commission that that stucco wall, which is 7 feet from the inside of the yard, sits on top of a 3-ish foot retaining wall from the exterior of the yard. So drawings in the CA didn't show the retaining wall. I think there were some questions when they went to pull permits for removal of the retaining wall. So we felt like the best path was to bring it back to the Commission with the complete documentation for clarity.
Okay. I think looks pretty good. There's the retaining wall in question.
Sam Gresham here.
Oh, sorry, is the applicant present?
Applicant here. This wall, of course, this is its original condition, and we had approval at the time. The previous approval allowed us to take it down. They took it down. It's gone. And with the idea that we were okay to put it back up, based on the 1997 original approval, the height of that little piece right there is about 42 inches at the bottom from the top of top of grade inside the backyard. So the measurements were always made from the interior, which is according to guidelines, how the fence height is measured.
Right.
So.
That a crack in the wall, is that grade on the inside roughly?
It's a little bit below grade. It was a terrible construction. He had to take it down because it was falling apart. It's a wood stud wall with hardy panel, or not hardy panel, but Durock on the exterior.
Really?
And stuck over the top of that. It's surprising it lasted as long as it did.
Wow. Okay. I like the doors, Colby doors. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00059 with the specific findings and conditions as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Klaus Ryman Phillips. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you've been approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next case.
HPCA 18-00075 at 715 Northwest 22nd Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Jason Qualls, Coppersmith Investments, by Garrett Benson of Coppersmith Investments for certificate of appropriateness to replace, number 1, replace 2 non-historic windows on the front of the house, elective. 2, replace front porch column and beam with new beam, column, and railing, elective. 3, remove non-historic panels from dormer and replace with siding to match house, elective. 4, reinstall or replicate in kind found historic window in original front dormer location, elective. 5, replace 100% of front siding to match historic, required. 6, enlarge rear door to 36 inches and install door, elective. 7, replace front porch ceiling with original butt joint slat, elective. 7, remove rear landing, deck, and steps, elective. And 9, construct brick rear landing, elective.
Which one are we on?
Number 6, HPCA 18-75.
Okay, what'd I do? Skipped over one, sorry. All right. You have the applicant?
Yes, Garrett Benson.
Okay, you signed in?
I'm sorry?
You signed in?
Signed in.
Yes. Okay. I think the renovation is great improvements to that.
We
project.
had some issues in that house.
Yeah.
With rot and
Proposed
termites.
renovation. Okay.
Okay. And I don't have a very good scanner at home. I'm a history teacher, high school history teacher, and of course this is my passion, but I did bring some better pictures. The scanner scanned in pictures didn't come out great whenever I was looking through this application. Thanks, Angela.
Okay. So
So,
we'll see if we have any questions.
Yeah.
Oh, we have copies. Okay, great. Nicely organized.
It's either the 6 years in the Army or all the years teaching.
So you found the window in the attic or somewhere?
We did.
Yeah.
Very excited. I have a full wood shop at my house with all mid-60s, thank you, Powermatic machinery that I've kind of pieced together. And I actually designed and built my own house 10 years ago to the specs of a 1900 home, but it sits on 30 acres south of the metro. Anyway, I'm going to try to take apart the one pane of glass on that dormer that's broken. The rest are great. And if I could take the trim pieces off and insert, it's not leaded glass, so that's good. Insert a piece of glass in it. I'm going to reuse that thing.
Good. That's great. A question for you. We were looking at that back stoop. It's not really a porch. The 2-inch gap.
I'm sorry?
The 2-inch gap.
Yes.
That's, you want to preserve the siding behind it.
Correct.
So this is set back. Is there a way you're going to seal that? Is there
Yes.
some sort of a cover or?
Yes, obviously there'll be a threshold from the door area,
right.
but underneath that, we're going to seal it with another wood product and then the paintable caulking, just like what we've used in between the 1x8 slats
Okay.
siding. And we'll caulk it in all the way to the top, all the way down the bottom.
Okay.
It should be airtight. And then there'll be a threshold piece over the top
Right.
of that.
I assume that. Just want to make clear.
But I just didn't want to connect it right to the
What's that?
existing. I didn't want to connect it right to the existing.
Yes, I understand.
And there's a photo, on the photo sheets, 8 of 8, the last page there. That is in the photo packet that I gave you guys, that's actually a good example of what it'll look like. We're going to get recycled pre-1935 fired brick. So it'll be just like the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to my previous comments, I'm looking
was.
at your siding.
We use paintable caulking in all the knots. You won't be able to see any of them. And then, of course, in between.
I don't know if you've noticed in the neighborhoods, but I'm not talking just, these look small. I mean, there's huge, huge pine knots in the siding. And trim. I mean, trim, I don't even understand. I mean, on siding, I can kind of understand some. But to build new window surrounds out of pine with big knots is just wrong. I mean, that's not compatible wood, in my opinion. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen as many as
I mean, if
you're
somebody came in and
referencing.
showed us a big piece of wood with big knots in it, would we say, oh, that's fine, just put it on the house? I don't think we would.
I don't think we would either.
Well, I think that's something that staff can be more diligent about addressing with applicants when they talk about replacing wood elements. And I'm also curious to see if some of that is siding replacement that people are doing under the assumption that it's maintenance, and if they even have a CA for it.
Right.
So you're talking about their proposed new siding
On the front.
on the front?
And I understand there's a financial consideration there. And I've asked a couple of contractors, and they said it's even hard to find
Yeah. Good wood.
good wood anymore. So
You have to put a lot more love into it to make it look right, for sure. The paintable caulking, we spent 3 days just on the back part that was rotten, filling in all the little crevices and stuff. So.
If you can't find good wood without knots, maybe Hardy is preferred. I'm just saying, if you can't find it.
because I saw so much of it, I've asked several people, and they just said it's very difficult to actually purchase. And I know that clear
straight two-by-fours.
cider, is it cedar siding, clear cedar siding, or redwood, I guess, was really the totally preferred wood. And it's either expensive or not available.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
someone
what you
actually
had
called
said
me.
before. Oh, I'm sorry.
I actually had someone call today saying, we have an addition and we have a garage, and we have enough redwood for one of them, but not both. What do I do? And I've called everywhere, and I can't find any more. So, yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
The old growth versus new growth wood. That's what I was thinking in the back when you guys were talking about. You wanted to stand up for wood, and I was going, yeah, me too. I want to stand up for wood. It has to do with the old growth and new growth. That old growth, you look at the grain on it, it's tight. It is just really, took a long time for that tree to grow. And then the new growth grains.
So we respect old wood, but not new wood so much.
No, I have no respect for new wood. I would make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00075 with the specific findings. Were there any and specific findings and the condition as noted by staff in the staff report?
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, and seconded by Klaus Ryman Philip. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we've already heard HPCA 18-80, so moving on to HPCA 18-00085 at 703 Northwest 24th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Colin and Veronica O'Leary for certificate of appropriateness to 1, close all existing rear doors with siding elective, 2, remove pair of rear windows elective, 3, install pair of French doors elective, 4, remove rear landing elective, and 5, construct new rear deck elective.
Is the applicant present? Yes.
Colin O'Leary, resident, 703 Northwest 24th Street.
Okay.
And I have spoke with Ms. Yetter about her reservations about some of the items, the ones that she did not recommend for approval, but continuance. It was the issue 2 and 3, the removal of the window, the rear window, and the replacement of the door. In my packet, I had accidentally submitted 2 separate doors. My intention is to use the Pella 450 series door, the dual outswing wood-clad, to adhere to the guidelines. And then the other issues she brought up were about some of the deck items, the post caps. I had a lighted post cap on there. She recommended that I move away from the lighted post cap. So I do have, or I am willing to move to a wooded post cap and do more decorative lighting in the back, more temporary stuff. And then the deck skirting, I have vertical planks, not space, or right next to each other, and she recommended to use skirting that look like the lattices on the front and side of the house. I'm definitely willing to do that.
Oh, this is that one. Are you an engineer?
I am.
Did you work on Project 180?
I did.
Your drawings have the title block.
Yeah, I used the title block from that. I thought it looked pretty official.
Okay, well, yeah, I thought this was a taxpayer-funded project for a minute, but guess not. All right, okay.
I didn't bill any of the hours that I worked on this to Project 180, though.
Okay, that's a good disclaimer.
So my question would be for Angela then, given what the applicant just said about the deck, does that take care of the issues that you had on, as far as more information, more understanding of the specifics?
Most definitely, if you agree that that is an acceptable proposal. However, if you are content with the proposal that the applicant has put before you, I'm happy to work with him on that.
Angela, what does he need to turn in for item 5?
I think on, Colin, we don't have any drawings from you showing that lattice, do we?
No, that would be
probably
it would probably be a drawing of the lattice.
That, yeah.
And then for the post caps, probably just the post cap I would buy that would replace the other.
So the condition for item 5 would be to submit documentation to staff for approval before construction of the deck.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00085 with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report, and a condition on item 5 that complete drawings and materials need to be submitted to staff for the deck for approval prior to construction, or the CA, whatever.
Okay. Second.
I'm sorry. Is there another condition? Sorry. Item 2.
I think he's provided that already. Paula?
Yeah, it was in the application. I just submitted 2, so there was confusion about which door I was going to go with.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good? Is there a second?
Just a question. There was something about a lighted cap on the deck?
Yeah, the post cap that I originally submitted in the application was a lighted post cap, solar lighted post cap that would come on at night. Angela suggested that that's not quite in adherence with the lighting guidelines in the historic preservation
Okay.
documents. And so I would move away from that and do some other temporary decorative lighting.
Do we need
If I
to
can find it.
say anything about that?
I think that's included in the condition for item 5 to submit revised documentation.
For the deck.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Joe Meacham and second by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, you're approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
HPCA 18-00095 at 3616 North Walker, Edgemere Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Russell H. Cadigan by Whitney Cadigan for certificate of appropriateness to 1, brick in an existing window on side elevation, elective.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Are you Russell?
Yes, sir. Russell Cadigan, 3616 North Walker Avenue.
Any questions?
Well, I don't have a question. I looked at this. I'm ready to move approval.
Any other questions? Okay.
So I move to approve HPCA 18-00095, item 1, with the specific findings and unique circumstances set out in the staff report.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Suzanne Broadbent, second by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, you've been approved.
Thank you, Katie, for everything you did for me. Appreciate it.
All right.
Well, our intern Cameron wrote your staff report, so.
Oh, you let everybody know which one, okay. This has been good because it went right through.
We already heard HPCA 18-97. HPCA 18-00099 at 1530 Classen Drive, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Joe Davis by Sam Gresham Architect for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct addition, elective. I was looking around for Sam and forgot that Holly was the...
Okay.
He was here earlier. So.
Yes. I thought, oh, he left. He still has a case.
Does he? Well, then he's probably near.
Well, no, I was just looking at this because it has his name on it.
Oh, I see.
He was gone, but...
And your name?
Holly Hunt, and I work with Sam.
What?
I prepared the drawings for Joe Davis.
Okay.
There was just one item, if I may, really quickly. I noticed in the staff report, it says that we are aligned with the existing structure on the west elevation, and that is not actually true. We actually step in 11.5 inches, which is dimensioned on the site plan.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted that to be clear.
The only issue that that came to mind for me with this project is that with the addition and the concrete patio and the two-story garage, this lot is really getting filled up, and we do have a consideration of green space in our guidelines. And I understand the odd shape of this lot cuts off a lot of the green space anyway, but I think we should make that, if we're going to approve this, as a unique circumstance that we recognize that it doesn't meet quite what we usually, I don't know if you call it require or not, but think is a good idea.
But there are some requirements.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Specific. We talked about those, but it's for green space, it's really easy to meet. What is it, 25% of the lot, Katie? Or
I think this is just kind of standard citywide.
Yeah.
There's minimums for open space and permeable space. And yeah, I think there's one threshold that's a 25% and then something else that talks about 50%. But what we've generally found is if you have a typical front yard, then you pretty much meet those requirements.
And the other one is the footprint of the addition.
And I would say also that the edge of our proposed current new covered patio, that is right to the edge of the existing, so we're really just offsetting an existing hardscape. Of course, it's rounded, so we'll be squaring it off. So, ultimately, we will be covering up more of the ground than is current. But yet, I just wanted to point out that that is currently hardscape that will be now new construction.
I think unique to this lot also, it seems like a kind of an oddly shaped property. So I guess typically lots are about 140, so this looks like 136 on one side. So really it's a little bit smaller, I guess, than
Yes.
your typical lot anyway. Corners kind of cut off, so that kind of cuts into the usable space. Seems like.
Thank you, that's a good point. Yeah, they're on Classen Drive, and Chartel is on the opposite side there, and so, we're on a very small train, the very end of that row of properties.
So am I understanding from our discussion that we don't see a green space issue based on the guidelines or anything like that that we need to address?
No, it wasn't something that staff raised as a concern. But I think it's perfectly acceptable to acknowledge that there's less green space and all the things that have been discussed as part of the motion.
And the unique circumstance would be the shape of and size of the lot, I guess. More the shape of it. The east property line is fairly close, a little smaller, but the west is substantially shorter. So. Well, it says new concrete patio. Is that squiggly line?
Yes, they eventually would like to do a pool. So the concrete patio, we may not construct at the same time as the two-story addition portion. It's just really laid out to show. And where that squiggly line meets the two-story garage is an exterior door, an existing one. So that's the reason for.
But you are going to build that in this project?
The concrete patio, yes, but the
concrete
pool is not being proposed at this time.
So the future, you're going to cut it out?
Well, I don't know. That's a phasing issue with the owner, and I'd be certainly we'll be involved in that project as well. So we'll be sure and get with Katie on any kind of CA issue at that time.
Well, until you do the pool, that's a lot of concrete.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that whole squiggly line area.
Mm-hmm.
From the green space standpoint, until they build the pool, I don't see why you'd want to pave all that area. Would that
And it would probably just be a portion of it at this time when he
could we
does.
identify that and maybe have staff look at it or something? I think it'd be nice to have that concrete area reduced for now.
Well, and I would agree, and maybe I should have called that out as future as well, the concrete patio, because really right now we're just focused on the addition itself and the covered patio.
So I'd like to have a new site plan with a smaller new concrete patio, phase one.
Or perhaps just not showing the patio, if we think that's something that's going to come back later.
I could call it, and that's really an oversight on my part, that whole squiggly line should have been dashed just as the pool, and that called future.
So you're not going to build that?
Not at this time. Not until they're ready to do the pool.
With that understanding that the new concrete patio will not be built at this time, similar to the pool.
Right. Because you're right, that would not make sense to pave that area and tear it all out in 5 years or so.
Right, that's a lot of paving.
Really, it was more of my opportunity to show what space was left for a future pool.
Yeah.
And so.
That it would fit.
Correct.
Right.
So, that should be dashed and say future concrete patio, for sure.
Okay. All right. Besides that, it looks good.
Thank you.
Did you do the drawings?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a
It's a
little-
beautiful home,
Yeah.
so we had a lot of great details to work with.
Just for clarification, I'm looking at the site plan here. We have the future pool, we're not dealing with that right now. The new concrete patio, which is 23 feet 11 inches by 25, et cetera, is that what you're talking
No,
about? Or-
this squiggly line is all,
Yeah.
is concrete with that in it. So this should say future concrete patio.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that is
no,
not.
there's two different, yeah.
That is not a patio, that is a dimension line. All of this is paving right now, but she's saying they're not going to do that, and that will be a future concrete patio.
Right, the rectangular lines, Suzanne, that say 25 feet 2 inches, that is giving you the width of the covered patio that is proposed.
yeah.
That's just telling you the width. See how they connect down to the corners? And then the wavy line that extends from the side of the garage around to the steps, that's the boundary of the future concrete patio that is not being included today.
Okay.
So that'll help a
Suzanne,
lot.
You do bring up a good point, because that future patio does connect to some door on the side of the garage.
Correct.
So I'm assuming you might still want some kind of path from the garage to the
Right,
back of
and
the house.
he'll likely do some just pavers or something in the meantime until he can get that, because of course, yeah, the dirt's going to all be moved at the time of construction. So we'll definitely want some kind of hardscape, but it'll be temporary.
Like pavers.
Pavers, stepping stones, something like that.
Okay?
Well, and then my next question is, what specific materials and products, Katie, under the conditions, are you unclear on?
I think the one thing that was not clear was we had manufacturers' specifications for a bunch of different doors and windows, and just wanted the applicants to select the specific
Which one?
ones they were going to use. There's things like a variety of different mutton profiles and brick molds and that sort of thing, so it was just selecting those from all those options.
So the Marvin manufacturer that we've specified, yeah, it's impossible to get a cut sheet that's very specific to your one window, but the cut sheet included shows that we could match this type of window quite easily, and we will match it to its exact specifications. We're relocating every window that we take out, is also called out in the floor plans, and minus that little planter kitchen window that was probably an 80s edition. But we've tried very hard to maintain that, and we'll use, of course, wood windows in the addition.
Katie wants you to circle or check or whatever the specification that you're actually going to use.
Yeah.
Sure.
The product definitely meets the guidelines. We try to put as few pages as possible in a CA so that we don't include 18 pages of
Or circle the right
window
one.
sills.
And we run into this every time as well, too, because it's, they get down to specifications on exactly the width of the muttons and everything, so. But yeah, we understand the need for that specification, and I'm happy to comply with that.
Okay.
Well, I'll move to approve HPCA 18-00091, Item 1, with the specific findings and conditions, excuse me, as set out in the staff report.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Suzanne Broadbent and seconded by Klaus Ryman Phillip. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And now we go on, that's a last of our individual other business none, communications reports.
We have lots of administrative approvals. Always happy to follow up with questions about any of those. We had one withdrawal. I think just didn't get there. I don't recall why they withdrew. If someone wants to know, you can ask us. I don't remember. We just try to report those so that they don't just disappear into the universe. Nothing from any of our other bodies except that the recommendation to designate the Freedom Center as a historic landmark will go to Planning Commission on July 12th. The Airbnb home sharing ordinance is also scheduled to go to, is that supposed to, I think that's supposed to go to Planning Commission actually on July 12th.
Have there been any modifications?
Okay.
I think that's right. Have there been any changes to that? Is it based on input from the?
I don't believe that any changes have been made to what was initially proposed.
I know
So it's been to study session and urban development committee, and now it'll go to planning commission. Yeah.
I know there's been concern expressed by historic preservation district neighborhoods. Can you comment on that?
I don't have a whole lot to add to what I think everyone's already aware of. Folks were basically home sharing will be added as a use within the allowed use table for HP, which is a base zoning district. Right now it allows single-family residential and some other kind of neighborhood uses like things like schools and churches that are allowed. So it will be added as a conditional use that you could operate something like an Airbnb VRBO out of your home. And some of the residents of some of the historic districts had voiced opposition to that, not wanting to see that allowed, or at least wanting to see some revisions to what was going to be allowed to make it more restrictive than what's been developed so far.
But there have been no changes
There haven't been any
at this
changes
point.
at this point.
Okay. All right. No ad hoc committee, nothing? Municipal councilor? Okay. Next meeting date. The next regularly scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is August 1st, 2018 at 2 p.m. at the Municipal Building. We're back on schedule. New applications for this meeting will be received July 3rd, 2018. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, July 10th, 2018. The next regularly scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission, isn't there another one this month?
Yes, so the next one that's on our schedule that was filed at the beginning of the year is September 12th. We've been trying to get one arranged for sometime in July. From the most recent round of email polls, it sounds like that July 18th date was not going to result in a great turnout. So we'll contact everyone again.
Okay.
I know summer is challenging to get turnout for things.
Okay, and beyond that, the next one is Wednesday, September 12th, 2018, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main, Suite 900. Okay, any items from commissioners? No citizens are left. So in that case, we are adjourned. Thank you.